Today we're going to look at the theorists Walter Benjamin and Theodor Adorno, who are known as theorists of the Frankfurt School, which was the first to introduce the idea of the, quote, culture industry, that is, the mass marketing of culture in the modern era. There are two ways that the Frankfurt School understood culture in modern society. One of these was as consumerism, maybe advertising or art as a product or as an object for sale. The other was ideology or politics, that is, the need to legitimate various forms of political and social action or intervention, akin to what Gramsci and Althusser had talked about. So, what is new about the production of art in modern society for Benjamin? He says what is different about art is the possibility of mechanical reproduction. For example, the existence of photography. Benjamin gives the example of the Mona Lisa painting by the Italian artist Leonardo da Vinci. The painting has a specific existence. It is held in the Louvre Museum in Paris, and it has a particular location in the world. But with the advent of mechanical reproduction, we can photograph this painting, we can make postcard copies of it, it can be reproduced and copied multiple times and can exist in many places around the world. But the copies are still distinct from the original. So the question posed by Benjamin is, what are we missing when art becomes reproducible? Benjamin gives 4 answers to this question. The first response is that when art becomes reproducible, we're missing this presence in time and space, the unique existence at the place where it happens. Due to technical reproduction, copies of art can be placed in many different situations. Secondly, we're missing the quality of the actual work of art. So a landscape in a movie is not the same as the original landscape. Thirdly, Benjamin argues that when art becomes reproducible, it loses its authority and its authenticity, what Benjamin calls its aura. And finally, through reproduction, the object is severed from the domain of tradition. So, for instance, statues of Venus for the Greeks, or the elk painted on a cave wall, art was often ceremonial objects destined to serve in a cult. Benjamin goes on to ask, how do the possibilities for the mechanical reproduction of art change modes of participation and reception? He says that art is mediated by technology, so that watching a theater performance is different to watching a movie, where the performance is presented by a camera. Benjamin says that in reproduced art, the camera is substituted for the audience. So, for instance, in the case of a drama, it is enacted before a camera and not before a public. Benjamin goes on to say that an actor's work consists of a series of cut and paste episodes. They are not acting out the role of a character as in a stage play. Like Marx argued about the estrangement or alienation of the worker from the product, so too the work of art can be taken away and transported to the public and other places. There is also less distinction between the author and the public. Readers themselves become writers. So, for instance, the example that Benjamin gives is letters to the editor. But we could also think of this in the era of the internet, where readers can contact writers by Twitter, by Facebook, and writers read blogs by readers. Benjamin states that, quote, for the first time in world history, Mechanical reproduction emancipates the work of art from its parasitical dependence on ritual. But the instant the criterion of authenticity ceases to be applicable to artistic production, the total function of art is reversed. Instead of being based on ritual, it begins to be based on another practice, politics. For Benjamin, the mechanical reproduction of art democratizes cultural production. It loses its aura and authority and becomes available to all. Could we extend this to our analysis of media today? In reality TV, where everyone can be a producer and everyone can be an actor. The distinctions between high art and popular culture are blurred. Theodor Adorno gives us somewhat of a different take on the role of culture in modern society. His analysis of the culture industry refers to the standardization of products, the rationalization of distribution techniques. For him, the cultural industry is about mindless conformity. According to Adorno, the culture industry transfers the profit motive into cultural forms. Art itself becomes a cultural commodity. The main purpose of art is to sell a product. So from these two Frankfurt School theorists, we have somewhat different understandings of culture and the culture industry. Benjamin focuses on the democratization of culture that is made available by the reproduction of art, while Adorno talks about the ways that art becomes more and more linked to commercial exploitation. Which of these do you think is true? Are people, as Adorno would say, quote, falling for the swindle of the culture industry? Do people believe everything that the culture industry tells them? What about the differences between the messages of the culture industry and people's empirical realities? For Adorno, it's not just about the democratization of culture, but the development of autonomous and independent individuals who can think for themselves.